Hey cookie creators and lovers alike, I'm Gabby. The clock is ticking down and Santa Claus is coming to town. So today on the Cool Cookie Show, we're making some traditional Santa Claus cookies. For my extra large Christmas tree cookie, I'm going to start by piping with a 104 Wilton tip till I hit about halfway up the tree. Then I'm going to change over to a Wilton 102 to take me the rest of the way up. Once I've completely iced the cookie, I'm going to add some candies to decorate our tree. While applying my candies, I've also left a path for a garland, which I'm going to come back in and pipe in about 20 minutes to an hour. Now with some piping consistency icing and a number 16 Ateco tip, let's go in and add our garland. Now with some piping consistency icing and some sanding sugar, let's add the sparkling star on top of our tree. This tree's all done and is waiting for the gifts that Santa will bring. Sometimes when you have a particular vision, you just don't own all the cookie cutters. You can spend time searching online for particular shapes, but sometimes they don't exist or are extremely expensive to get shipped to you right away. In those situations, I simply hop online and look for some images. Once I've found my desired image, I print it out and cut it out like so. Then once I've got my cookie dough all rolled out, I place the image on top of the dough and use a sharp knife to cut around the image. I don't necessarily exactly copy the image, but I am going to use it as a rough guideline. I'm also lucky enough to own a projector that will display the image on top of my cookie for me to add some food coloring markers for piping guidelines. For my pile of presents, I'm going to start by flooding the lids of the boxes. For my piping consistency icing, I'm using a number 1 Ateco tip. And for my 15-second consistency flooding icing, I'll be using a number 2 Wilton tip. Now we'll let these layers dry for about 20 minutes to an hour before we go in and flood the bottom of the boxes. Now we'll let the red present dry for 20 minutes to an hour before we go in and flood the other 2 gifts. Before the green box dries, I'm going to take some white flooding consistency icing and add some polka dots. Now before the yellow box dries, I'm going to take some white piping consistency icing and add some lines. Now we'll let these layers fully dry for 6 to 12 hours before we go in and give these gifts their bows. For the white ribbon on my red box, I'm going to use a number 47 Ateco tip and some piping consistency icing to make a nice smooth line down the center of the box. A 47 Ateco tip is smooth on one side and jagged on the other. So in this case, I'm going to use it jagged side down to get that nice clean look. To complete the rest of the bows, I'll be using a Wilton number 4 tip. Now let's use some candies to embellish these bows. These gifts are all wrapped up and ready for Santa's sleigh. For my Santa Claus, I'm going to start by flooding the red in his hat. For my piping consistency icing, I'm using a number 1 Ateco tip. And for my 15-second consistency flooding icing, I'll be using a number 3 Wilton tip. Now with some piping consistency icing and a number 17 Wilton tip, let's go in and pipe his bushy white beard as well as his mustache. Now we'll let these layers dry for 6 to 12 hours before we go in and complete his hat, give him his eyes, and his cherry red nose. To give Santa his bright red nose, we're going to start by piping on a dab of red and then dunking it in some red sanding sugar. And we'll finish off his hat by adding some candy holly. Now we'll let the cookie dry for 20 minutes to an hour before we go in and give Santa a twinkle in his eye. Santa Claus is all finished and ready to deliver toys to all the good girls and boys. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of The Cool Cookie Show. If you liked this episode, give it a big thumbs up. Want to be a part of the creativity? Let me know what characters and shapes you'd like to see in the comments below. For more of my cookie creations, check out my channel, tune in every Tuesday, and don't forget to subscribe. Till next time, stay sweet!